Welcome everyone. Today is August 20th, 2020, and I'm Mike.
And I'm Brian.
And this is what got our attention. We're going to start with what we've been playing. Before we get into our game of the moment that we played on Tuesday, I played some other games recently. I actually tried to venture out and play some other things because I know I have to do that. It's very hard, especially when we get caught up in the same games over and over, and it just takes so many hours from my life. But the main thing that I actually got to check out this week was a game called The Tourist. It's on the Xbox Game Pass, so I was able to check it out for free for me. And the idea is it's kind of like an adventure game. Like you look like Ron Swanson. You're basically on a beach as Nick Offerman, and you are dressed in your Hawaiian shirt on vacation. And it's almost like a Minecraft style looking game, kind of like over the shoulder, kind of like Minecraft Dungeons in that way, a little more close. And then you can adjust the camera angle and such, which is pretty neat. And the whole purpose is like he's on vacation, but you're collecting some coins, and then you have like simple puzzles that you kind of come across. Like there's like a big relic, and you kind of go to it, and then it starts talking about these little things that kind of lead to a puzzle, and then so the idea is like you're kind of doing that, going around to different islands based on like brochures that you have, and you're trying to figure out little bitty puzzles. And there's things like an arcade you can go into and play these little mini arcades, and like the guy's like, well, I'm the high scorer, like you can't beat me. And then like of course that's one of the puzzles, you have to beat him to like be able to continue on. So it was just something I played. I thought it was pretty neat, just trying to play something different, but pretty neat little indie game. I don't know about you. Before we get into game of the moment, have you played anything else?
No, you did great on your homework this week, where I utterly failed and I only played the game of the moment. Although I say in my defense, some of the articles that we're going to talk about later is kind of the reason why I did that. I was making myself available to see some of the stuff live. Yeah,
that makes sense. So what we did play for Game of the Moment, if you did miss that this week, we played a game called Among Us. It's available in the Steam app or Steam store, and also the Play Store. On Steam, it's like $5. On the Play Store, it's actually free. You can pay $1.99
super cheap
to remove like the ads, or you can also buy in-game content like the costumes and stuff. But it's a real basic like werewolf style game where there's an imposter in this game, and the rest of the people are just the crewmates. And the idea is, for the imposter to basically kill everyone or sabotage the missions. Excuse me. And then the other crewmen are trying to obviously accomplish the tasks that are at hand, so they can survive and be able to get off the ship. The problem is,
I'd like to say that with your each of us like different genres. I know one of the genres you like is the survival genre,
right?
And very fun there. And we've done a couple of those intentionally or non-intentionally. Certainly, we did Grounded because it just released at the time. In early access, and it was kind of refreshing to have something that wasn't really a survival game and was more of this imposter style game like Werewolf. And I think one of the things you were about to say was you're in a spaceship, you're given tasks in that spaceship to do. Some of them are just real basic puzzle games, like connecting these wires based on color from side to side. Putting in a code, taking a card out of your wallet and swiping a card,
matching the wires,
downloading information.
That there was one where you had to like match the wire colors together and such.
Exactly, and they're just super easy puzzles. And the mechanics behind this are that everybody has these tasks to do, and all these tasks lead to a successful mission. If you get to a successful mission, you win. The imposter tries to sabotage this, either by killing people or by doing things like causing the reactor to start to overload,
right, or the
reducing the oxygen, which then creates new tasks that everybody's got to do within a timer. Otherwise, again, they fail. And so you get this sense of urgency sometimes, and the imposter isn't given any other tasks. So you try to watch for that because they kind of like try to fake tasks.
Yeah, they have fake tasks that they can follow, and they have a list of their fake tasks, and it's a little so they can actually, when the reactor is like going down, they can go over there and turn it off. Like they can help do that, but the rest of the tasks that most people do, in. Right? The most of the tasks though you can't. They don't really do anything. So if you're like you said, you're watching, but the thing is, everybody has different tasks. They may have the same type of task, but it's different. So just because they're not at the same terminal that you are doesn't mean that they're not actually doing something. I think there was a time where you called at me like saying that I wasn't doing anything.
Absolutely amazing. Because I had 2 tasks, and I was like, okay, I'll get this one. You get the next one, Xycia. And you're like, yeah, okay. And I like run by and I do a task. I'm like, Xycia, what are you doing? Get the other one. And you're like, I'm going. And then I'm like, no, it's right here. Oh, fine. I'll do it myself.
Right.
And then I'm like, all calling you out as the imposter. And you weren't.
Yeah.
You weren't an imposter because we hadn't figured that out yet.
Right.
We went into this totally blind, which is the best way to do it. Sorry for those that listening and we're like giving some of this away.
Right.
But no, it's very cool where they thought of these things where there are common tasks, there are short tasks, there's long tasks, and a lot of this is configurable. You can configure how fast you run.
Yep.
You can configure the number of the different tasks, and you can configure the imposter stuff too, like how often they can like take someone out and the cooldown in between that. So they can take someone out, but they can't take someone out right away after that. One of the times I was the imposter, and boy, did I get caught. I took someone out. I think it was you.
I think it was me.
If I recall correctly. Yeah. And I ran out of the room, and someone else, one of our friends that was playing with us, because we had 7 people in a game, 5 and others and us, the 2 of us, walked in, saw your dead body, and instead of reporting the dead body, which immediately calls a vote to determine who to kick off the ship, instead ran after me to determine what color my player was.
Right. So that was the whole debacle, because they were like, well, you were fighting for it going, well, if you saw the body, why didn't you report it? And then he's like, well, I didn't have time to report the body because I was trying to figure out who was after that person. So I was running after him. And like, so we're listening to this going like, well, who do we believe? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm dead.
And I was trying to use a vent to escape because the imposter is the only one that can use these secret vent tunnels. And if I had done that, I would have, because I ducked into a room where I knew there was a vent. And if I hadn't been so slow, I would have disappeared and he would have never known it was me.
Right.
And I couldn't kill him because I was on the cooldown timer. But I just like hesitated. I was like, oh wait, and I hit the wrong button. And then he's like, it's Phoenix. Yep. Phoenix did this.
Well, that's the thing too. Totally so the other part of the game too is there's a button in the middle of like the cafeteria or whatever like the main hub is, and it's the call to action basically. It's the emergency button. You hit that and it calls the vote, and then everyone has, I think it's like you can configure that too, but you have so many seconds or minutes to basically discuss like who is it, who's the imposter, and then at that point you can vote. If there's a tie, then nobody gets kicked. So if it does happen, it's one of those things where like you just don't know who, like maybe they did decide who it was, but nobody voted for them. So then you're still talking about it, but there's no way. It was like the cat cam. Nice. But yeah, so that was a pretty interesting game. Like I said, it's available on phones too. Well, it's a pretty simple game. Like it's only on the on the keyboard there's only the arrow keys and the mouse, or you can just use the mouse. And same thing with the phone. Yeah,
and it's very much like Space Team. If you haven't played that, that's a very fun little party game that's on the phones as well. But this is less of the chaos and mini games that Space Team is, and a little bit more of the psychological, okay, who is it? Do I want to call a vote? Do I not want to call a vote? And it very much more on the werewolf side of things. And that was a comment that one of the players that was with us that we know loves playing werewolf. Like every time before the Rona economy hit.
Yeah, I'm that same way.
We need a counter for that. Every time before the Rona economy hit, when there was something at somebody's house, he would want to play werewolf. And he said he has played many digital games that were meant to be reminiscent of or replicate, the werewolf idea. And he said this was the closest.
Yeah, I would agree.
This was by far the closest. So if you like the werewolf games, and for $5 on PC and cheaper elsewhere, why not go and grab this?
Yeah, I would agree. Werewolf is definitely one of those party games that I love playing. And this is it's very simple. So like I said, there's only a couple controls, and the ability to call the vote and discuss with other people. That's the other thing too, is it tells you not to talk. Like, it really says shh, and like we're all in a Discord server, so we're all kind of talking back and forth and making comments and streaming and stuff. But
using that strategically, I mean, we're saying like, I'm about to complete a task, so you're going to see the task go up.
Yeah.
Blip.
And the other thing too is,
and even though we were doing that, it was still hard to find the imposters. Sometimes it was still relatively fair.
Right. The other thing too, though, is when we died, if we got killed, like we'd immediately just shut up. So like we would, like people would be talking, blah blah blah, everybody's doing something, and then all of a sudden like it'd get a little quieter, and finally somebody'd be like, wait, where is everybody? Hello? And then like about that time, it's like the game is over and it's imposter wins. So pretty neat game. I'd definitely check it out. There's a video on my Twitch right now of the gameplay from Tuesday, but it's definitely something to check out. Like I said, it's very cheap.
Same here.
I mean, it's, yeah. Oh, and you got yours up too for your stream. I forgot about that. So yeah, Phoenix has his up on his side, so you can see both aspects on that, and it's a lot of fun for cheap as it is.
Explicit warning on both of those.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, it gets wild. So items before the news, this is kind of something that I know last week we talked real heavy on like the music and kind of things like that, but we had an update this week from DragonCon. DragonCon is the local convention here in Atlanta. It's a pop culture convention, has a lot of different things. One of the ones obviously is affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And they had earlier this week, they had like a live post from their Facebook. They kind of had, they had the 4 people that are kind of like the main people on their panel for this year's DragonCon. And they discussed a couple things live, and they actually took questions and such. So I got to ask some questions. And the main thing that I took away from that, and I'm sure there's probably a write-up now on their page by this point, but the main thing I took away from that is it sounds like they've kind of learned from the other conventions that we've been talking about, is that they said there's going to be hundreds of hours, I think, something like that, to all of the video on demand. So all of the pre-recorded videos they're going to have for the different tracks that aren't necessarily panels. But they did also say they're going to have a lot of live panels so that people can do questions just like we were doing in this video on Wednesday. So that was, or on Tuesday. So that was really awesome to hear, because it's, as we've heard already, some other places didn't want to do that, and it kind of takes away from that experience. I mean, we want to be able to ask questions and figure out, what person's color, favorite color is or whatever. And
it takes away from the whole experience, like I said, of being there live, the whole reason why you show up. I mean, I know I've said that before on some of these other ones, but it's good to hear that these organizations are listening and reacting, and also learning from some of the other ones, like, the San Diego Comic-Con that did not have any interaction at all.
Right.
And understandably had lower numbers overall, some higher actually, like number of concurrent viewers was higher than what they could fit into some of their halls. But still, the fact that overall the discussion around it was lower, part of that is going to be understandable because people aren't there live, but part of it is because it wasn't interactive.
Yeah. The other thing that they mentioned, that which was actually pretty neat, was that they touched on the side that we talked about originally about, I think it was EVO, or yeah, the on fighting convention.
Evo,
yeah. So we talked about how on that one it was like it's great that it's online, or what's going to be online, that it allows people from all over the world to be able to attend something that they typically wouldn't. The part that they mentioned, which was the other aspect of this, is they said they were super excited because of the fact that everything's online. They're able to get some of the guests that aren't typically aren't as free as some of the guests that are, because the thing is, when they come to the convention, they have to sign up for like a 4-day weekend, right? They have to say like they're going to be here for multiple panels and signings and stuff, and a lot of them don't really have time usually at that time of year. And they were saying some of these artists are now able to attend on the virtual platform and do panels because it's only like, from their home. They can literally, so they were super excited. They couldn't say anything like who they had yet. They said that's all to come. And but it was still exciting to hear that they've actually maybe reached out to some people that we haven't really seen at DragonCon recently, and or haven't seen for a while, that we really wanted to see, and this may be an opportunity for them to actually attend as well. So
sure, both lower costs between travel, also avoiding some things like if they happen to be in a country that isn't allowed access or is under watch, where they're going to have difficulties getting into the country. with the internet, getting into the country is going to be a little bit easier, at least for us. So yeah, this could open up quite a bit. And I will say the same thing here that I said about Evo, which even though that one was canceled for completely different reasons,
right?
But I would like to see that something like this continue even after this stuff is done, even after the Rona economy is taken care of and we move on. I think that having a digital presence like this for these conventions is nothing but a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not that you have to do 2 simultaneous conventions. It's not that they need to learn from this and be able to incorporate it in with what they're doing right now, and have things for the paid attendees that are showing up live that are unique to them,
right,
or special for them. Because that's going to be, like, why else am I paying to attend Dragon Con?
Exactly.
Or
I mean, it's still
Comic-Con
different
or PAX
in
whatever.
person.
Yeah, but still have that extra level of interactivity added into the video. Because a lot of them have streamed in the past. PAX streams on 2 or 3 different Twitch channels, and you could always see that for like Australia. I can't go to Australia. I've seen that before. But to add that extra level of interactivity, then I'm going to pay more attention to them and their brand and what they're selling. And that's the whole concept behind these things. It is to make money, let's face it. So I'll be interested to see if they all learn from this and somehow meld in this interactive part to their live part.
Yeah.
And make them both go forward.
Well, I think in overall, in every aspect, every avenue of business should take away something from this. Not necessarily for conventions, but like even what we talked about last week in music.
Good point.
Like having venues where shows are sold out. Like why wouldn't they have a Twitch channel to just broadcast it so people can at least see the concert? Maybe and I've seen some artists over the summer that have been having their own hosted videos, so they would do a concert on their own webpage, so that way you have to pay like a $5 ticket or something just to be able to host. I mean, that's fine. I mean, it gives us the ability to attend things. The other thing they mentioned was that the Masquerade is still going to happen. There wasn't really many details on how that's happening. If you're familiar with the Masquerade, it's literally like in person. Everyone's in one huge convention hall, and it's like a bunch of different cosplayers coming through and just having like a blast. Basically, doing the show along their cosplay. So they're actually acting out little parts and things. And it's kind of like, the Masquerade's kind of like the viewing party for some of me and my friends. We like to watch that on like the Friday night or Saturday night it is. And it's just one of those things that's really fun. So we'll see how they interact with that. I actually got to ask a question about cosplay. And I said, how is cosplay going to work? And they said they actually have already details on their webpage that they're discussing on how to enter for cosplay, the cosplay contest and such. So that was interesting.
That's such an important part with at least Dragon Con, because I know that the year that both of us went, every time I turned around, there was another cosplay contest.
Yeah.
And not complaining about it, because they had slightly different themes.
Right.
Themes that they were kind of loosely adhered to. But, different prizes. They were giving away like very expensive sewing machines, or, gift certificates to like Joann's and stuff like this, and stuff that a cosplayer actually would want. So I want to see that as well.
Yeah, I think they said the first prize or one of the top prizes is like $500. They're going to do $500 for the winner for one of them. That like literally used to just pay for like plane tickets and stuff, but now it could be like, not having to fly anywhere and actually making some money. So that's good. The last announcement part they made about it, which was something that we're all, kind of worried about and wondering, is, so how are we going to watch this, convention online, this virtual convention? They didn't name any platforms. They didn't announce exactly the platforms they were going to be on yet. What they did announce was that they were going to be streaming on 3 separate platforms. So let's think about that. There's really only 3 platforms left. So there's Twitch.
Right, Mixer's gone.
Yeah, Mixer's gone. There's Twitch, there's Facebook, and there's YouTube. So I'm not saying that that's exactly what's happening, but the speculation is obviously there. 3 of the ones that are the top streaming platforms right now, that's where else would you stream from? I mean, I don't know.
Right. And, people are going to laugh because you said Facebook and they're like Facebook streaming. But if you actually go back and listen to some of our previous podcasts, we ourselves were shocked at the growth that Facebook streaming has had. Am I going to go start streaming on Facebook? No. It's a different audience for different things. From my understanding, it's a lot more mobile games, by the way. That's not the only thing they do, but primarily. But they've had like triple digits, over 100% growth, like even this year alone, and are actually in the space now. So they're definitely, I think, number 3-ish. YouTube and Twitch still being bigger, but
as we talked before,
I would be curious if it isn't Facebook. I want to know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, as we talked before, like a lot of when Mixer kind of broke up, a lot of the Twitch or the streamers decided, where are they going to go, and a lot of them said no to Facebook gaming just because of the fact that there is no anonymous. I don't even know if there's a word for that, but like basically the anonymous side.
Anonymity.
Yeah, that for having a streamer platform on Facebook because you had to tie in your account, your personal account that you have for Facebook, and a lot of people were turned off by that. So actually, the first news story today revolves around Facebook. How interesting. So Facebook has announced that they actually have they're going to require starting in 2023 for any existing user and starting in October for any new user that to use Oculus, you're going to have to use your Facebook credentials to log in. Talk about Skynet. So they're actually going to require you to have a profile. They said you can have multiple profiles on an Oculus, like on one headset, but the idea is they're going to be able to sign in that way. And if right now if you want to opt out, you can if you're an existing user. But they said, after 2022, actually, what they said here is that the in the quotes here, and this is an article from Road to VR, it says this could be because they include features that require a Facebook account or because the developer has chosen to no longer support the app or the game you purchased. So if you don't sign in with Facebook, you may literally lose the things you've already purchased. The other part they mentioned in this article, was just some quotes from the Facebook people, was that they said you should be able to make like a separate profile so you can kind of have a VR profile as well. But they don't really talk a whole lot about how that's going to work. The other thing they mentioned, though, is that they've already announced that it affirmed that they will definitely be tracking how their Facebook users use their headset and the information around that. This is the quote from what they have. Well, go ahead.
Okay, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, that's how they make their money. I mean, anybody who Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that stuff, like Google makes their money because your habits and the things that you do are worth a lot more than the services they're providing you.
Right. If something's free,
so
you're the product.
Yeah, that's not a shocker. Yeah, well, your actions are your product.
Yeah.
The information of what you're doing, and not all of it is information that is necessarily sensitive.
True.
Some of it is, but very, very little of it is, and most of it, the whole idea is that this information is anonymous. Although that is how they serve ads up to you.
Right. Well,
still anonymous.
So here's
because
the quote
they're just saying, "Hey, you match this profile, so you're getting this ad."
So the quote says, Facebook will use information related to you, to your use of VR and other Facebook products to provide and improve your experience. This information is also used to show you personalized content, including ads. For example, we may show you recommendations for Oculus events you may like, ads about Facebook apps and technology, or ads about developers for the VR apps. So users cannot opt out of sharing VR usage activity with Facebook. The scary part to me on all of this is, with using Facebook or using social media platforms already, the whole point of the selling of your information. I don't really care if they see something I post or whatever. I'm only going to post the things I want people to see anyway. When it gets scarier to me is when they're tracking your brain functionality. They're looking through they're looking at your eyes. They're tracking your eyes, how your eyes are moving and reacting to certain things. And then at the same time, they're also, they're basically able to judge like how your brain reacts to certain scenarios. So that can get kind of scary when you think about it for the future of how not only they're shaping ads, but they're thinking about like how they can influence you. So
also not new.
Well, right.
look at Google and the history of it tracking everywhere you've been.
Yeah, which I'm okay with, right?
How you go there and how you do. I mean, so Niantic, which is directly related with Google and Alphabet,
yeah.
the kind of parentish company that goes along with, and Niantic, who is involved in like Pokemon Go,
right.
And also the game before that, they were actually using that information of people walking around to chart out where the paths were in parks so that they can improve Google Maps.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it's how we react and how we do things. That's not too new. And again, I mean, yeah, there's information they can get from that, but it's. So I don't know. I'm not as overly worried about it myself.
Well, we'll just see how it goes. The other news, though, with Facebook is not only did they announce this Oculus Facebook user thing, they also announced that they're going to buy the VR studio behind Beat Saber. So they're actually going to buy the company is called Beat Games, which creates Beat Saber, and it's basically. If you're not familiar with Beat Saber, it's a rhythm game that has like equal parts of like Fruit Ninja and Guitar Hero. I'm reading a TechCrunch article, and but you're using like lightsabers. So if you look on YouTube, there's a lot of videos of people that are really, really good at this game, and it makes it look really awesome. And so I mean, it's a great game, but they're also going to start moving that towards integration, like with obviously Oculus. They have a headset. They're wanting to create better content. So that's also something we're going to see in the future. The one thing that they did notice, or they did mention, is that with they had Beat Games that had kind of expanded into partnerships with different music artists, like Imagine Dragons, Panic at the Disco, mentioned here. And what's going to happen is they're not going to be able to use mods going forward. So they're saying that there's a good deal of content that probably wasn't supposed to be on there, but they're going to have to kind of see how it goes with the modding community. So we may lose a little bit from that, but ultimately I think the bigger plan is to, move forward with better ability to make VR, I guess.
Really? I mean, I'm skeptical against that corporate speak there just because look at Skyrim.
Yeah.
Look at Skyrim. Like you can run that on your microwave just about now, or
or your
refrigerator.
Fridge, yeah, really.
And one of the things that follows it almost in every platform is the modability, and it's one of the reasons why it's stayed so popular. It's one of the reasons why it still can look so good on a PC because the mods have actually increased its fidelity, making it look so fantastic. So, I don't know. I think them buying the studio behind Beat Saber, call me an old man and get off my lawn, but
that's how we all feel.
But I'm telling you, that sounds like a bad thing overall because one of the things I liked about Beat Saber is like, hey, I didn't have to like go to just one platform. It was on PlayStation. It was on PC. I'm curious. I'm sure they're going to keep on multi-platform because that makes sense money-wise, but am I going to be able to play it with my, say, Vive or something if I happen to go that way instead of going with Oculus? After the first article about having to sign in with Facebook, which I do not want to do, or make a fake Facebook account to stream and or do Oculus or do both at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm much more like willing to go the Valve. It used to be Valve Vive was the negative one because they're like, walled garden. You have to buy it from Steam. And that's why Oculus is like, we don't care. You can buy it from us or play on Steam. And they were the much more open one.
Yep.
And now they're closing down and Vive is like, no, it's okay. You can play your Oculus games here too. So I'm confused.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it runs its course because, I mean, it's today is one day and tomorrow will be different. So we'll see.
Now, I would much rather talk about a game that I'm excited to be coming out, and I know you're excited as well. And it's because I'm talking, that means that I'm not talking about Cyberpunk, that I'm talking about Baldur's Gate 3.
True.
And Baldur's Gate 3, just a couple of days ago, the 18th actually, they had their panel from hell. And this was a panel, and they had, the lead kind of content designer on there and one of the lead writers, as well as Jeff Keighley, he's a journalist / person that is kind of agnostic, that talks to all these different companies and gets them together. He also puts on like the Game Awards, and he does a whole bunch of different things like this. And he kind of stepped up when E3 went away and said, hey, talk to me and I'll make sure that we kind of slot these things in together and we get some visibility for your different things and you're not stepping on each other's toes. So he was involved as well. And Chris Perkins from D&D. And Chris Perkins is the lore master, or one of the lore masters from D&D. So he's been there for many years. So they all got together and talked about several things. And there was a lot of things that was fascinating about this. One of them is that they announced the release date for early access. Because Larian Studios, makers of the Divinity Original Sin series 1 and 2, one of the things that they did with those series is they released it in early access and limited. It's typically Act 1.
Right.
It stops at a certain time, and they let people play the heck out of it, comment on things, and they listen to those comments. They don't necessarily directly interact, but they listen to them. They look at the forums. They look at the different ways that they can reach them. Definitely getting the crash reports and they like, report this bug button.
Yeah, exactly.
And they make changes. Yeah, they make changes. And like, for instance, in Divinity Original Sin 2, they had introduced item durability. The more you use an item, the less the durability is. Eventually it breaks. And then you have an economy based around that of like creating new things or having to find new things. And people hated it. So they took it out. Or at least they made it less.
Yeah. At
the minimum. It looks like they took it out from what little I had played. Short attention span syndrome.
It's hard. I've played through almost up to Act 2, I think, and I can't ever continue because I just can't get people together to keep playing it. And I mean, me too. It's my fault. I mean, I can't say it's all them.
Whether I play with you or play by myself, I will be playing through all of Baldur's Gate. I guarantee that I will at one day in the future be able to talk about it in general, spoiler cast or whatever we need to do. But it was very interesting that, they talked about the early access again on this one. And there were a lot of things that they talked about it, like how to kind of keep that role-playing feel, try to keep somewhat true to the rules, but also make it a video game. Some of the things that we talked about in the past, they want to keep that idea of like rewarding players for coming up with cool things, like taking your arrows and dipping them into fire, and now you get fire arrows. And they want to make it feel like they're a dungeon master and they're building the story with you, even though that they have like an outline of the story that they build it with you. And they've put a lot of effort into that with multiple characters that you like, these pre-made characters that you can play. You can make your own too. Absolutely. But they have these multiple pre-made characters that have a lot of this background that you can pull forward and move forward with the story, but also call back to that background. And this early access is going to be massive compared to Divinity Original Sin 2 early access. There's 80 combat scenarios in this one for what 80? They're releasing in early access compared to 22 in Divinity Original Sin. 45,980 lines of dialogue.
Wow.
Compared to 17,600.
Yeah, that's a lot.
596 characters you can interact with compared to only 142. 146 spells and actions that you can do compared to only 69. And just going on and like this is it's a massive chunk of content that you can really play around with until the full access.
Yeah.
The full release, I should say. And all of this is going to be available. They did quantify with as long as things don't change too much, right, and they're able to meet their deadlines. So it isn't 100% guaranteed, but September 30th is when they're going to have that available.
Cool. That's not too bad.
For early access. Yeah, not too long at all. They had originally talked about this month, August. They kind of pushed on that just because of the Rhone economy and everything. And now they said, okay, we think we're going to be able to make the end of September.
Yeah, they said September before, but they didn't have a date. And it looks like they still kept September, but it's at least like the end of September. So, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, take your time, make the game.
Other exciting news, just to kind of wrap this up, is that they also released on Steam what the PC requirements for, at least the minimum and recommended.
Cool.
And let me tell you, the minimum is crazy low. They're talking about an Intel Core i5 4th gen. We're in 10th gen.
Yeah, that's old.
And they said 4th gens. They're like, oh, an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 780.
What are they like pulling parts out of their closet and they're just throwing it at a machine like, hey, does it run? All right, cool.
It's absolutely amazing. Now, granted, you're not going to be able to play with the highest fidelity that way.
Yeah.
But they said that even the recommended PC requirements are like an Intel Core i7 4770K, again, 4th gen, but on the higher end of that 4th gen. NVIDIA GeForce 1060 and a 1060, that's a little bit newer, but still, that's usually well within most people's budgets. And you're talking about like 3-year-old PCs at that point still, and probably a newer processor than that 470. Or 4700. So it looks like that these requirements are very reasonable, and a lot of people are going to get a lot of bang for their buck. A lot of people who are like, my PC's aging and I can't just play, like some of the newest games. Well, here you go.
You can definitely play this.
Maybe you're not going to see it quite as cool looking as the next person, but you're still going to get a heck of a game with a lot of voice acting, with a lot of replayability, with a lot of options, and not have to have the newest PC to run it on.
Yeah, you may not have the God Rays or the Fog, but you can still play the game.
Absolutely.
So the other thing we had...
Speaking of new games...
Yeah, speaking of new games, Nintendo Direct actually announced today, out of the blue, out of nowhere... this was actually August 18th. This is looking at a comic book gaming article. They announced 6 new games, and they're all independent, like indie games. And I'll name the names. You guys can check out the games online. One's called Spiritfarer, and it's based on it's a really pretty looking game, and it's about a cozy management game about dying. So you basically are trying to guide spirits into the next world, and it's pretty neat. There's another game that actually I thought was pretty cute. It's called Takeshi. I may be messing this up, but it's called Takeshi and Hiroshi, and it's based on 2 boys. One's like an older brother, one's a younger brother, and the older brother is like a game designer, or trying to be a game designer, and he's creating a game, and his little brother's the one who plays it. So he kind of creates the game for like his little brother to kind of test it out for him. And it's a really neat game. It's also, what's interesting about it is it's actually puppet animation. So they do, like, as the cutscenes and everything is all puppet animation, and then you actually see the game that's animated. It looked pretty neat. The trailers are up. There's Raji, which is an ancient. It says Raji, an ancient epic, and it's an ancient Indian game, like based on ancient Indian lore. So you're actually Raji, a young girl who's chosen by the gods, and stands against the demonic invasion into the human realm. So it looks pretty neat too. It looks to be like kind of like an action RPG. I thought that was pretty neat. Kind of along the lines like maybe like a. I'm not even gonna say that, but just it's definitely like an action RPG, I would say. There's another game called A Short Hike. It's kind of interesting. It just, I don't know. I'd have to really play it to really understand it, but you're literally like a bird flying around. It seems like there's a little bit of light puzzle to it as well, but you're like flying around like a mountain-ish park, and I don't know. It looks weird. And the last game is Evergate, which is basically a side scroller, but it looks very pretty. It's about like the journey through the afterlife. Sounds very familiar to me. I think I've maybe heard this before or not, but those 6 games were announced today for Nintendo Switch, and they'll be coming out soon. They haven't really talked about pricing or anything, but they did announce these indie games on the 18th.
Oh yeah, Short Hike. I've actually seen some early access videos on that one.
Oh really?
Yeah, no, it looks pretty cool. Again, yes, you're like a bird. You kind of like hike up. It's weird because you like don't fly up anywhere. You kind of more of gliding than anything else.
Right.
So you hike up and it's kind of puzzle oriented. Like you have to fly around and grab stuff, and that increases some of your abilities, and you open up more parts of the map that way. It definitely seemed like a very chill game.
Oh, definitely seemed like a relaxing game. The music was very relaxing. It was from this is the trailer I saw.
Yeah, so, I've seen it played. It looks like it's got some pretty intuitive controls as well.
So those are out.
Okay,
you can check them out from Nintendo Switch.
All right. So I wanted to give an update and probably maybe even changing my tune a little bit, changing my opinion a little bit. Give an update on one of the stories that we had last week, which is Apple pulled Fortnite from the App Store, and Epic turned around and sued Apple.
Right.
And at the time, you're talking about, Apple, a recently $2 trillion company, against Epic, an $18 billion company. So substantially smaller, even though billion, holy cow. Still, it was interesting because shortly after all that happened, and before we knew about it, before we were able to kind of report on it last week, ends up Google took Fortnite off of the store, the Android Play Store as well. And Epic went out to sue them as well. And then I started like listening to a couple other people, looking more into it, and then, kind of looking deeper into it. And I was like, oh, hey, boy, it's convenient that within a very short time of Apple kicking them off of the Apple Store, again, like I said, for violations of the terms of service, you can't have a store within it that's selling, microtransactions. They do that because, again, Apple does want their piece.
Right. They all do.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that Epic has talked about before. That's one of the reasons why they started the Epic launcher of like, hey, come to us, put your game on us, and we're only going to take 10 or 15%, while Steam is taking 30% of the cost of your game. And that's kind of where Epic was pushing back on some of this stuff. And they started, the hashtag free Fortnite. They started it, not the fans.
Right.
Epic did. Not a grassroots starting thing. And they had, they sued Apple almost immediately after getting pulled off of the Apple Store. Almost like they were taunting them.
Yeah.
Almost like they had done this on purpose and were waiting to get pulled off. It was a 65-page initial, suit, or whatever you call the legal document. And again, almost immediately had that parody of the 1984 commercial, just ready to go.
Yeah, they were ready.
They were prepared for this. They were almost like they were spoiling for a fight. And it's interesting that we talk about it because, you start looking back at, I think it's Todd Sweeney, who is CEO, I believe, of Epic. And you start looking back at some of the things in the past where he just rallied against the Microsoft store and they can't put that into Windows. That's a monopoly, and that's going to be the end of, all these things. And well, I don't know if anyone's actually looked at the Microsoft store on Windows, but holy cow, it's a piece of junk most of the time. The Xbox version of it is a much better, much better version of it, and has been very useful for at least loading our games that we get from Xbox Game Pass. But he rallied against that. He was trying to pick fights back then, and it looks like that's exactly what's happening now. We got a couple of bits of information from different sources here. This one is The Verge, and it says Thursday night lawsuit makes a similar case, arguing that Google has established the Play Store as the only viable distribution method of Android apps, which, by the way, is completely false. That's so different than Apple, where, I remember even my early Android phones, there was an Amazon App Store.
Yep.
Now they kind of
Samsung App
that.
Store.
But there's a Samsung. Yeah, you've talked about the Samsung one in previous articles. So it's, and you can just sideload so easy on an Android versus you can do it kind of on an Apple, but it's
not as easy. Yeah.
More difficult. Yeah. So notwithstanding its promises to make Android devices open to competition, Google has erected a contractual and technological barriers that foreclose competing ways of distributing apps. Okay, yeah, I know that's what you're trying to say in your legal document, but that's really not how I see it. And the other thing about this is, again, this is because Epic doesn't want to pay the extra money for their microtransactions that they sell. They don't want to give a cut to these other stores. And I get that. They're a business, and I get why the other, Google and Apple do want their cut because, again, they're a business as well. So they're starting this grassroots thing, and they're like, you have to free Fortnite. You come and help us, user. You are players. You're so important to us. What do you think is going to happen if they win this? They're not going to pass this on to their end users. I mean, sure, they might give like a consolatory prize of like a 5% cut in the cost of their V-Bucks or something like that.
Or just maybe a free hat or a free, you know what I mean? Like something that doesn't cost them anything, really.
Right. And really even 10% cut in V-Bucks. In fact, right now, what they're doing to try to combat this is like you can buy your V-Bucks through the Apple application, or you can buy it directly from us for 20% less. Typically, again, 30% is kind of the standard cut in these things. So you can see where this 20% is coming from. So yeah, maybe they'll pass a little bit on to these users, but really that's not going to change too much for the users. And it's the users that they're trying to essentially weaponize against these companies to get their way. It seems almost political in some of this. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. It comes out. I'm not rooting for either one of them. It's just really interesting to watch this.
Yeah, I mean, terms of service is a thing. Even I understand that you want your cut, but literally to have an app on the App Store with any of these these companies, they have a terms of service that you have to agree to. And that's anything. You buy any product or play any game online, you have to agree to the terms of service. If you cheat in a video game and that's against their terms of service, guess what? You get banned. So I don't see how they can really argue this. I mean...
Right. And Apple even went a step further because they sat there and said, because you broke the terms of service, we're not only going to kick Fortnite off the App Store, but we're going to revoke your developer status and turn off the developer tools that you have.
Wow.
And, basically, I believe this is from MacRumors.com. Upon further review of the activity associated with your Apple Developer Program membership, we have identified several violations of the Apple Developer Program License Agreement. Therefore, your Apple Developer Program account will be terminated if the violations set forth below are not cured within 14 days. And they list like a dozen things. Anything from, pre-release versions. This is a dozen things that they would lose. But yeah, Apple's not backing down. They certainly have the money to outlast.
Well, right. I mean, it's kind of like picking a fight with like one of the. I mean, I don't know. They're just not large enough to try to pick this kind of fight. Not at least on this topic. I mean, there's other things you could probably fight Apple for and maybe win, but.
Well, and let's be honest, because this doesn't go in front of a jury of like a bunch of us gamers or other peers like that are going to like make, decide one way or the other. No, this is in front of a judge, and typically in battles like this, the company with the most money is going to win.
Yeah. The lawyer's going to read the contract and go, okay, so you're suing because you violated their terms of service. Okay.
Yeah. Now, what is going to be maybe a little bit more cut dry and where the smaller business or company might win is that in all of this, Epic continues to do its thing in Fortnite, and Fortnite's been doing these tie-ins. Like at one point they had Thanos, I believe, showed up, so they got some Marvel tie-in. They actually started doing a DC tie-in. They had their city of Atlantis that rose out of the ocean, or at least the waters receded in one part of the map, and they have DC Aquaman. Like there's no doubt in your mind this is Aquaman when you see it, and it is a tie-in. It's meant to be Aquaman, and he's behind him is the city of Atlantis, the Coral Castle, Well, there's a problem with that. You can't call it the Coral Castle on your map because there is a Coral Castle. And it's a kind of, it's the Stonehenge of Florida is what it's called. It's an actual place. This gentleman had, built this. Basically, he had an unrequited love. He got spurned by a woman, and in his grief obsession, couldn't take no for an answer. He built over many, many years this massive coral castle. And that is what this museum is called. So it's just south of Miami. It's a large garden. This is from the Kotaku article, although originally reported by Polygon. It's full of sculpted rock formations. Looks kind of like an archaeological dig. Sometimes it kind of looks like a mini golf course. And they're suing Epic Games because, of course, Epic Games used the term Coral Castle, which is a trademark for them. And that's where they have, because some game in this case is, they got a trademark. You have to apply for that. That's not something that's like, we've been using this term for like 20 years. No, they've applied for this trademark. So I think they're going to have a little bit better of a chance in their lawsuit than Epic is going to have against Apple.
Yep, makes sense. All right, so this is. Well, I was going to say this is my favorite time.
Yeah, your favorite time. It's Xycia's Cyberpunk 2077 update of the week.
So not much to update this week. We're going back to just little bits and pieces that we can find anywhere. And this is another comic book gaming article, but they did an interview with one of the senior level designers from Project CD Red, and they basically had a lot of rumors. A lot of people are talking online that is this game going to be the next Witcher 3? Is it going to be not as good as Witcher 3? Because Witcher 3 is most people say is one of the rated highly, a really, really well done game for adventure, RPG, the lore, and everything. And, so people are like, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the case. So they actually asked the question, and this is a quote, and this is what he said. He said, I think people tend to forget that Cyberpunk 2077 is an RPG first and foremost, right? So customization and equipment and choices, making choices in the skills you have, the talents, how your character looks, how you choose dialogue, it's the center stage of this experience. He says, I think some people look at this game and think, oh man, it's a first-person shooter, or it's a first-person and it has guns. It's a shooter. And that's not very, he's like, that's a very surface-level assessment. I think in many ways, it's a much, much deeper role-playing game experience than Witcher 3. So, that is exciting to hear, obviously, but it is true. I mean, they talked about it last week, and they actually are still putting this out there. Actually, side note, I saw someone post recently it was on Facebook, a post that it was like, again, Cyberpunk has been delayed, and I was like, what? And I clicked, and it had the same yellow banner, and I click on it, and it's literally a Rickroll. It's them just every line of the song, and I'm like, oh, damn it, that's so. But yeah, game hasn't been canceled or delayed again, but. For now, it's November 19th. We'll see, but see how that always goes.
Yeah, and it's great because it's literally a callback to what we were talking about last week, where we have been paying attention. We've been watching the Night City editions. We've been seeing how they are blending the ability to look around and move like a first-person shooter, but blending in that RPG element and doing it. This is kind of repeating a little bit of last week, but doing it in such a way where they're not negating the fact that you are putting the cursor in the right place and that you're using your reflexes and aiming correctly. They're augmenting that based on the abilities that you've chosen, where it's you can recover from a shot faster. You don't have as much recoil as you go up in level. You can reload faster. And they bring these RPG elements in an intelligent way. That's just made me more and more excited for this game. We're gonna like have future editions of what are you playing, and it's gonna be yes. Again, this week I played Baldur's Gate and Cyberpunk 2077.
Or wait, you mean Cyberpunk 2077?
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's gonna be a reoccurring theme, I am sure.
Yep. And with that being said, we're going to take a short break for our ad. So please hang out and listen to our sponsors. And we're back. So we're going to start our short segments. We have our first news article with Brian.
Yeah. This one's... I enjoy this one. And it's that... And somehow we missed this last week. I'm kind of like depressed that we did miss it. But Summer Games Done Quick has been back, and they're continuing to do it throughout this whole week. They've been going on since last weekend, and they're continuing to play games quickly, and whether glitches or non-glitches, and they're going to be doing that through Sunday, August 23rd. Although I looked at the schedule on Sunday, Sunday looks really light. In all reality, it's pretty much wrapping up Saturday from most of what I saw. One of the great things that I saw that's coming up was a Doom Eternal 100% run, and it said without major glitches. So I'm kind of interested there of like, okay, what's a major glitch versus a minor glitch? I do know I've seen some Doom Eternal stuff. Doom Eternal or the first Doom, there's like this great glitch that if you get on the edge of something and it starts like sliding you down, if you jump really fast, and people do is they bind the jump button to the scroll wheel button so that they can do jump actions super fast, like 50 per second. And it basically multiplies the force until they jump up out of the map and they're able to clip through the map and do a whole bunch of fantastic things, which were blowing the developers' minds. Great video about this. But so that would be a major glitch. So I'm curious of, again, what's going to be a minor glitch. But back to Summer Games Done Quick. Go ahead. If it's something that you like, go ahead and check it out. There's a lot of good information. They, of course, do this for charity. Typically, and again, this year it is for Doctors Without Borders. The Kotaku article that I saw has just a really great information like, hey, where can I donate? What's the schedule? Just answering a whole bunch of questions. Where's it going to be? If you go to their website to watch it, I believe it's just gamesdonequick.com. You can directly view the live feeds there. Usually they're on Twitch as well. And they set up their video on demands after that on various platforms, including YouTube, so that even if you look at the schedule and see something that was earlier this week, since we're reporting on this a little bit later than I was hoping, still you'll be able to go back and see those things. See your favorite Mario level done in 15 minutes instead of like the 2.5 months that you spent on it.
Right. So the other thing that people lose their mind over typically is one typical game is GTA 5. GTA 5 is still very popular, very online. Everybody continues to play it. We even talked about that with the Red Dead Redemption having not as much attention as GTA 5 did. Well, recently a speculation ended up on Reddit for game guesses or speculation, and basically rumors. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. So back in 2009, the company, when they launched GTA 5, they actually bought another website domain online, which was GTAViceCityOnline.com. So, as I said, back in 2009, right after GTA 5 was announced, they had also purchased this domain, and it's been there since 2009. Well, recently, people lost their mind because they did find out recently it was updated back in March. So, people are now speculating, is this going to be the new GTA 6? Is it going to be based back in Vice City? Or is this going to be something completely different that would be online with Vice City? Who knows? We don't really know at this point. We haven't heard anything else. It's completely just a rumor. But it is interesting because I definitely love GTA Vice City. And to have that game remastered would be great. I think the 6, they were already saying they were going to have like pretty much all the games mixed in. But who knows if that's what they're planning, or maybe this is something completely different, or maybe it's nothing. I guess we'll find out. If you're familiar with Yeah.
I just want to say Vice City was one of the ones that brought me into the GTA fold. I remember playing game
soundtracks.
night, and when we say game night, we played until the sun came up the next morning, and all of us were like trading off the controller, doing some of the missions, like helicopter flying in dynamite to take down the construction. And yeah, it was a great evolutionary step from the GTA before it, but it was the setting that it was in that just made it so fantastic and so memorable within everybody's minds.
Yeah, the soundtrack to me is what really made it. It was one of the best soundtracks to me. And if you're familiar with the GTA series, just starting at 3 on, there's always been those radio stations, there's talk shows, there's just all kinds of different channels or radio stations you can listen to. And on one of those, it's always the talk shows, it's the DJ Laszlo. Laszlo is actually a real person. And it's actually Laszlo Jones, and he's actually an actual persona that they use for the GTA series. Well, Laszlo Jones is a fictional DJ in the game, but in played real life, he's actually a non-fictional writer and one of the producers on the GTA series. This was announced back in April that he actually left Rockstar, and there wasn't really much being said about it, but that's what happened. Until recently, back in, I think it was August 11th, he actually posted from Instagram, and he said he actually gave the reason of why he left. And the reasoning is his sister actually got diagnosed with terminal cancer suddenly, and so he's been acting as the primary caregiver for her since earlier this year. And it said obviously it only made it worse because of the whole global pandemic happening. So it made it really difficult for that. So he decided to step back from his mainly career to take care of his sister. And I think that's it's really awesome to see that we still have humanity out there. Like people are really still caring about other people. Yeah,
definitely sad to hear that for multiple reasons, especially why he was leaving. But it's heartwarming to see that he was taking the steps to take care of her. That's really awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, when I first saw the article, I was like, well, maybe hopefully it's not another sexual allegation or some other thing that, has been just running rampant through this whole news thing since the beginning of this year. But in this scenario, it's not like the greatest story, but it is something that is a little heartwarming, and it's, pay respects to Laszlo, because he did a great job in all the games, and it's something that we'll never get back. There's actually a dedication video on YouTube, you can look it up, from all the GTA games, and he has a little montage of it.
Yeah, press F to pay your respects.
Yeah, really.
So, kind of get back to the rumors. Rumors are one thing, and then there's rumors based off of people that are doing leaks, and typically people who are doing leaks, and they're also like rumors. They don't always pan out. Sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're not. But typically these people doing leaks are because they know somebody who is in the business and they're getting information from that person, whether it's developers or retail people that have access to, stock reports, right. Not stocks that you buy, but stocking up things in the store itself, warehousing. So one of those leakers is known as Dusk Golem. He was a moderator on Reset Era until recently, the forums there. And he had done several leaks in the past. He had done some leaks about Capcom's Resident Evil Village, and a lot of those leaks, they all were verified later on. They were things that, he was one of the first people to talk about it, and it ended up being correct. So he had been talking about information that he had got from his developer friends, which of course remain anonymous, and said, hey, looks like the PlayStation 5 is having problems even doing some things in Resident Evil, like it's struggling to run even at 1080p 60. So it's going to have a lot of problems at 4K. And a lot of this is because of the variable clock frequency of the GPU and the CPU, where it can scale up and down. And he even said that he heard reports, or in his opinion believed, that a lot of these games are going to have fake 4K, where it's kind of rendered at a lower resolution and scaled up.
Right.
And now, again, this is rumors. This is not even stuff that he doesn't get paid to make. He isn't getting clicks off of this stuff.
Right.
He isn't getting ad revenue. He's just trying to like, hey, I heard something interesting. Would you like to know? And because of this, the internet, like NeoGAF, Reddit, whole bunch of people just started piling on him to the point where he quit being a moderator for these forums at Reset Era and just kind of receded out of the public view, as it were, and was just getting attacked all over the place by these trolls that were like, oh, like obviously you're a Microsoft fanboy and you're just hate and that's not the case. He's reported on a whole bunch of different things on both sides of the story. So it's really kind of sad seeing that, all these people are just rabid for news, and not just because it's new console generation. That's been for every new game and all this stuff. That's one of the reasons why we talk about stuff, is because, we're curious about the news and we want to see what's coming up. And to see, kind of someone get attacked for this is kind of ridiculous, especially since he isn't saying that this is verified. He isn't saying this is absolutely the truth. He's saying, hey, here's one of the things I heard. So let's keep an eye on this as things go forward. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. I mean, that's how the internet trolls work. Unfortunate.
Yeah. Now, going from one leaker to another, or at least rumors, or let's say sometimes educated opinion, we kind of get more information on this whole new console generation. And basically, John Lineman, who is a writer and director and content provider from Digital Foundry. And for those that don't know, Digital Foundry is a website that has really built upon itself of taking equipment and really at a very, very technical level and a very detailed level, just drilling down on performance.
Right.
Whether it's a particular video card or it's an entire console. And they are doing like very detailed information of like, here's the frame per seconds under this load, and even including temperature and things like that, and detecting things like upscaling and what the differences are, and really going into detail of this technology. So he is not an uninformed person on this, and he basically got out on Twitter and said, hey, I've been talking to different developers, because that's one of the things that they do. And I've basically heard that this whole idea of having this cross-generational creation of new games is really difficult for these developers, and a lot of them are hating it. And, like one of the tweets, it says, one weird thing that I've noticed lately is an inversion of next-gen exclusives, as if launching a game exclusively for a next-generation machine is anti-consumer. But this is how it's worked before. And not just like PS5 versus Xbox, but he's also talking like PS5 versus PS4.
Right.
Exclusive to the PS5, to the new equipment. Because he says, this is how it's worked before. Mario 64 didn't exist on the Super NES. And that was a great thing, because you didn't get a watered down version of it.
Right.
This is my interpretation. You didn't get a watered down version of it on the Super NES. And, he continues talking about like business wise, there's, you got the positives of selling on both platforms, but the negatives of like, there's a lot of extra work. And he even responded to someone saying, hey, come on, you look at Bugsnax. I mean, it's got really simple graphics, and people are already building stuff scalable for the PC, which we've talked about earlier about Baldur's Gate and the different requirements for that were quite a wide range. And they're saying like, these new consoles, they're very similar to PCs, and you should be able to do the same. And he says, well, and while that's kind of true, the PS4 architecture is pretty different from the PS5 architecture. And he says, well, consider the size of the development team. Every additional platform equals a lot of extra work they may not be able to perform without increasing their budget significantly. Also, their frustration. Nobody wants to develop on an underpowered Jaguar CPU anymore. I've spoken with enough developers to know that how painful the process is at this point. Leave Xbox One and PS4 behind. And the whole net out of this is again, some of the things that we've talked about in prior podcasts, which is there's very different goals that have been communicated by both these companies. PS5 has been, or PlayStation and Sony has been very much like, hey, you want a next-gen experience? Buy the new console. The old console is, still there and it's still great, but we're developing for this now, and that's where we want you to go. The controllers for this are going to work on this. And your PS4 controllers, sure, they're going to work on the new machine, but only for PlayStation 4 games, not PlayStation 5 games. And again, I'm not saying this to be negative. I'm saying like, that's a very valid point of view. It's like, hey, we're going to concentrate on this because Sony, the other thing that they do and do fantastic at is having those first party games that are very in-depth stories that are very narrative focused and use that hardware. Yep. Last of Us 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, although that has come to PC as well. Not the Alan Wake, the other franchise, and I confuse it with Alan Wake right now. But yeah, they got these things, and that's what they've been great at. Well, Uncharted. On the other side, was that? Uncharted, thank you, yes. On the other side, you've got Xbox and Microsoft saying, hey, you're gamers, and we don't want to say how you need to play. Come and play on the Xbox One X or the Xbox Series X. You'll find that many of our games are going to be even brand new games are going to be released on both, and you're going to get more of a next-gen experience here, but you can still play it on the old platform. So a lot of this information that John Lyman's putting out is starting to sound like kind of a win for PlayStation 5 because, here the developers are saying, man, it's real frustrating developing for like these multiple platforms, and we just want to develop for the newest. And with the messages that have been sent out, that's more on the PlayStation 5 side. So we're going to see how that falls out.
So left-handers can rejoice. If I'm a left-hander, and if you saw my setup, most people yell at me and they're like, I don't know how you do this. Just to give you a clue, I'm a left-handed person, so I use the left-handed mouse, or I use a mouse that's in my left hand, and my right hand is actually on the number pad on the actual keyboard. So instead of like having WASD on my left hand and the mouse on my right, I'm actually using the number pad as my directional. But a left-handed mouse has always been a struggle for me because I have to find, like, most mice are designed for right-handed people, and a lot of them actually have the curve that kind of gives you the contours to your hand, or contours to your hand. The
ergonomics.
The problem with that is it doesn't work very well when you're holding it with the left hand. So even the mouse I have right now it's supposed to be universal, but even with that, it can be tough to use. So it's really hard for me to find a good mouse. Like, I have to really dig. But Razer has announced that they're bringing back left-handed mice again, and they talked about in the article basically that there seemed to be not a need before, and they're seeing some sort of need now coming back, along with a lot of the movement against people who have disabilities and people who might not be able to use their right hand for anything, and so they're wanting to disable for disabled gamers and Southpaw users. They're trying to move that way again to be able to give them something back. And there's now a new Razer Naga left-handed edition. It's on sale now for $99.99, and it's designed specifically for left-handed, so all the buttons are now on the right side for your thumb, and it just kind of like I think you have a mouse like that, like similar, like for the right-handed side.
Yeah, and I actually went out and looked at the pictures of this. So this is the Razer Naga, and for instance, I have a Naga Hex, which is you got bad focus. So it's got 6 buttons on it. My Logitech is very much like the left-handed one, Naga, which it has about 20 buttons on it, or excuse me, 12 buttons on the side, 20 buttons total. And that's very similar to that Naga one that you saw that had 12 on the side. So absolutely, the buttons are only on one side. So it is definitely a right-handed mouse that I have. And I saw that the left-handed mouse that it was the 12 button style. I thought it was interesting though, because the mouse is $99.99. But if you go and look at the right-handed Naga for $99.99, same price, it's actually their newest version, which allows you to swap out the buttons. So you can either have 2 thumb buttons, or you can have the 6 thumb buttons, or you can have the 12 thumb buttons, because it is all very modular for the right-handed one, but not the left-handed one. So I thought that was kind of weird that for the same price,
don't tell
you had less functionality.
Well, that's hey. At least we got to start somewhere. At least we have that now. So I may end up picking one of those.
Also, did you notice the timing on that? What do you have the date on that article?
Looks to be August 14th, 2020.
Because you know what August 13th was? It was Left-Hander Day.
No, I didn't even pay attention to that. But you're right. Yeah, that's
no. I was
funny.
left.
No, goodness. Now we're doing jokes.
Bad ones. Dad, I mean, aren't you writing down your dad jokes?
I'm definitely writing them down. I have a book.
Yeah. So another callback update, and this is a quick one. This is actually truly a short. Basically, the U.S. Army Twitch is broadcasting again. And that's very much, when they went off the air, they very much said that. They said they're going to review and clarify its policies and procedures for the stream. As reported by PCGamer.com. Certainly, that was one of the things that we're going to do. They started streaming again, and they seem to have learned their lesson. They're being very careful not to ban people just because they are saying certain things. Because again, these are government employees, and the government banning someone, it tends to kind of hit on that freedom of speech thing versus a normal streamer just banning someone. And quite predictably, there's a lot of negative comments. People are kind of piling on this, probably more than they should, but they are definitely jumping in there and asking about war crimes and stuff like that. And the concerns are legitimate. I'm not going to begrudge anyone that. Are there probably people that are just jumping on this because they can, and they think it's quite funny to be able to troll them this way? It's the internet. Of course, there's trolls out there. It's kind of hard to tell the difference sometimes between the people that are legitimate and the trolls. But yeah, they're having a hard time with this for being kind of a recruitment tool with how their chat is going on right now.
Yeah, I don't see that going any other way. Another short we got is there are cities that are suing Netflix, Hulu, and Disney, claiming that they owe cable franchise fees. So in Indiana, there is a couple of cities that are actually suing, as I said, Netflix, Hulu, and Disney because of the ability to they're not paying franchise fees like most cable companies do. But the problem is, by law, they're not a cable company. They are literally a internet provided company that has content that you can, opt in or opt out of, even paying for. And this kind of actually came on along the same lines of like the satellite companies like Dish and Direct, where they're also not a cable company. They're a satellite company, which is totally different according to the law, the way it's defined. So it's just kind of funny that we're seeing this kind of stuff come up because it's been talked about in the past where they're trying to figure out ways to maybe monetize some sort of something out of internet content, whether it's net neutrality or something. And it's just funny that that's one of the things they're trying to do, and they're saying that they're losing revenue for the city because people are obviously cutting the cord, and they're going to these internet providers that provide content, and their franchise fees are going down, so they're losing money per the city. So
everybody's buying these electric cars, so we're losing money because there's no more money coming in from the gas tax. So we're going to charge them more for like registering the car for the wear and tear on the roads.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, it's funny because they're suing Netflix and Hulu and Disney probably because there's similarities to a cable company where they're providing movies and TV shows, yet they're not suing YouTube and Twitch, who absolutely are streaming or providing
live
video
content.
Entertainment. There's even YouTube TV. They even call it YouTube TV. But, I mean, I just don't understand, like, their whole mentality of who they're going to sue and who they're not going to sue, because they don't seem to understand. They clearly do not understand what the internet is.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's the problem. There's a disconnect of, they've heard the names Netflix, Hulu, and Disney because a lot of smart TVs have those apps already included now, but they don't really understand the full scope of what's actually happening in the streaming world. So we'll let them continue.
Show me a smart TV that show me a smart TV that doesn't have YouTube on it. For that matter.
Really, at this point.
Well, the internet being the internet.
Yeah.
We have talked about the Fall Guys and how we've played it. Fun little game. Hashtag not a battle royale.
It's esport. It's a hashtag esport.
Not gonna be esport either.
It's gonna happen.
You can't commentate on it. You can't see the people's names.
Sure, you can do that.
But still, very popular, super popular game on PC and PlayStation. Another article, not on Xbox yet, but not to focus here. Interesting, because of its popularity, they've actually gone out and, at least on their Twitter, among other places, have cautioned people about fake Fall Guy games on mobile. And they've literally said on their Twitter, Fall Guys is only available on PC and PS4. If you see any ads for a mobile version, they are scams. And they have a video of, like, essentially one of the mobile Fall Guys advertisements, right? And they say, A, they're literally playing a video and pretending to play it. B, there's literally a mouse cursor on the screen. They did not try hard on this at all.
You don't carry a mouse with you for your phone when you're on the go?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Just me?
C, I don't want to live on this planet anymore. D, yeet me into the sun. No, I mean, it's just amazing that it's the internet. People are going to scam you. People are going to sell you that Xbox box and, make some money off of it. And even worse with these mobile ones, more than likely going to have some type of malware or virus in it that is going to do something on your phone that you're not going to want.
Exactly.
So be aware of that. And also, tangentially, I just want to chime in too that Fall Guys has, of course, as most popular games, had some problems recently with people that are cheating.
Yep.
I have not seen this personally, other than through just like YouTube videos, but it is some hilarious, and hopefully they crack down on this soon too, because I do not want to encourage this, but hilarious speed cheats where you just see these little bean Fall Guys that are running 5 to 10 times faster than anyone else, and just go right up to where it is and qualify in a quarter of the time of anyone else. But they are working on that. They're working on trying to get rid of the cheaters.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear.
Also, just another thing, bringing it back to PlayStation 5. Again, these consoles are trying to differentiate each other from each other. Xbox with its message of like play anywhere, and PlayStation 5 being, hey, you want the next gen experience, this is where you're going to come, and we're going to have it. We're going to have like the faster SSD, or at the minimum faster than the PlayStation 4, and looking like their SSD is also faster than the Xbox One Series X, Xbox Series X, not One. One of the other things that they differentiate is the new controller, which they have dubbed the DualSense. And we've joked about it before, because we're like, you remember the 6-axis? Oh boy, you remember those early games and forcing some motion controls, and that was terrible. And like a year later, they're like starting to die down, and they just bring back the DualShock.
Right.
And so it's like a question like, okay, is this going to be the next iteration in controllers, or is this going to be like another 6-axis? So they actually got out there and they started talking about, okay, here's what makes the DualSense different. Here's why you're going to want to go with the PlayStation 5. And they, are mostly talking about the haptic feedback that is in the triggers. And for those that don't know, haptic feedback is essentially doing vibrations in such a way that make you feel things through your fingertips to give you certain sensations. Probably the easiest one for people to understand is most of the newer iPhones, the home button is not been a button now for, I think, 2 or 3 generations of iPhones. It feels like a button. You press it and you swear it's actually moved down and clicked. And no, it's just the vibration of how the glass is right underneath your thumb at that point that gives you that sensation. So they are trying to do that with the triggers. This isn't an entirely new idea.
Right.
The Xbox One has had vibrations in their triggers. They did that for, like, instance, the Forza series. Anytime that you had wheel spin, whether you're like sliding a little bit too much on a curve or you accelerated too much off of a launch and started losing traction, you'd feel the vibration in the appropriate trigger, right for gas. If you braked really hard, you'll left trigger there. The idea here is that this haptic feedback is a little bit more of a refinement on that. And some of the examples that Engadget reported on this were like in Ghostwire Tokyo, the triggers are going to give the players a sense of recoil. In Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and this was one that I thought was really interesting, is that since it's an analog trigger, the more you pull it down, it can have different effects. Is that you pull on the trigger and about halfway down, you can feel the first barrel of a double barrel shotgun fire. And then you feel a little resistance on that. And so you can like kind of time it. So you're like, oh, I only want to shoot off the one barrel. So just in case, and you got to turn around and then shoot off the second barrel. Because if you pull it all the way down, you shoot off the second barrel. So you got, that kind of feedback there, being able to tell you like how you're using that. The Spider-Man Miles Morales, also very interesting one, is that they're using it to try to give you an idea of where an attack is coming from, that directionality,
the Spidey sense
of an attack. Literally, they say that it's like supposed to emulate that bioelectric crackle across the controller to give you that Spidey sense. So this is going to be really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how much of it's going to be something where people are going to use it and get used to it, or is it going to be something like, okay, it's really for that like 5% out there that are kind of like near programmer level, and everybody else is like, it's a trigger, I'm going to pull it all the way down every time, and just not, I felt something, but not gonna kind of tune into it. So it should be an interesting one to see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, most games will. I mean, every game's gonna have a different way they want to approach it, and like you said, there's some people who just aren't gonna know any difference. So I guess we'll see.
Or care.
Yeah, or care. Credit where credit's due. I forgot to mention that the article about Oculus was actually submitted by Tickle. So got to do that. And this next segment is our email segment. Again, same story, no emails. If you're interested, if you have any comments, feedback, or anything that you want to give us, send us an email to goa@sassgaming, that's sassgaming.com, and we'll be able to get your chance to read your email out loud, your comment, or whatever you want to talk about. Submit stories, too. If you, like, we have other people who are submitting articles. If you think something that we came across and you want to make sure it makes the news and maybe get our opinion on it, too, feel free to do that. So that's what got our attention this week. If you're listening to the podcast, you can check us out on the podcast live here on Twitch at 9 p.m. on Thursdays, and on my channel, on the Xycia channel. Eventually, I think we're going to move into like a SaaS gaming channel. I think that's in the future, so that way we can kind of have one direct place. And then other than that, we have a YouTube channel now for SaaS, a Twitter that's for SaaS. We have both of our Twitches, Xycia and Phoennix Nova, Phoenix_Nova. So feel free to drop us a message at the email again, and obviously until next week, we'll we'll have a great time. You guys have a great time and stay safe.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. And in the meantime, remember to be nice to each other. We're out.
Later.